Hi, and welcome back to part 4 of my Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. In our last episode, Link traveled across the Desert of Mystery and retrieved the Pendant of Power from the Desert Palace. In the Desert Palace, Link found the Power Glove, which allows us to lift heavy stones. Across Hyrule there are two kinds of rocks that Link can lift. Some of them are gray, some of them are black. This will allow Link to lift the gray ones. So, a while back you may recall that we dropped off the mushroom that we found in the Lost Woods at the witch's hut with the witch. So it has been long enough now, and it's been definitely long enough now, to pick up what she was able to make with it. So when we walk inside, we find the magic powder sitting here just on the floor. So the magic powder has different effects. For example, if you use it on the buzz blob over here, I'm going to go ahead and equip the magic powder. It'll change the buzz blob, so he looks a little bit different there. So he still shocks you if you hit him, even in that form, so just be careful with it. But it can turn some enemies like bubbles. I previously referred to them as anti-fairies. It can turn them into fairies. So it makes them fairly harmless. So we find out that the Waterfall of Wishing, as well as Zora's Domain, is straight ahead up the path, but a large gray stone is blocking our way. With the Power Glove, we are now able to lift that stone. And it's a passive ability. You don't need to equip the Power Glove. You just walk up to the stone and press A, and you're able to pick it up. Down below we have a few clusters of rocks here that Link is able to bust through using the Pegasus shoes. And if we head up the ledge here and travel north, we will be headed directly for Zora's Domain. So, sticking to the shallows as much as possible, we want to make it through and find the treasure of the Zoras that can turn a human into a fish. Unlike in later Legend of Zelda games, the Zoras in this game are not friendly to humans. You can tell that they are at least sentient because when you can speak to King Zora, so they obviously use language and are civilized in some regard, but they are not nearly as friendly as they are in later Legend of Zelda games. So head up to the waterfall, and we can speak to King Zora and ask for the flippers. They're the treasure passed down by the Zoras, but he won't give them to us for free. So thankfully we have 500 rupees to pay. In addition, he lets you use the whirlpools all around Hyrule that can transport you magically back and forth. So if you memorize where the whirlpools take you, you can make it around Hyrule very quickly. So there's no need to equip the flippers either. You can see if you check the inventory that they show up on the Do menu down there with the A button. So all you have to do is just head into the deep water, and you can swim faster if you press A. That's why it's in the Do menu with the A button. So head down that waterfall, and up on this ledge you can find piece of heart number 9. So go ahead and swim back over that waterfall, and we are ready to exit Zora's Domain. So like the sign outside the witch's hut said, the Waterfall of Wishing was ahead, and now that we have the Zora's flippers and can move through deep water, we can now access the Waterfall of Wishing. It's a hidden door behind that waterfall. So if we walk in, we find a mysterious pond, and it asks, do we want to throw something in? So we can choose items from our inventory, not only items that we can use with Y, but also those passive items like the flippers and the Power Glove. So there are a few things we can upgrade. What happens is, if you choose to throw an item in the pond, a great fairy will appear and ask if we dropped it in the pond. So if we're honest, she'll tell us that she likes an honest person, and she'll give us a free upgrade. So we changed from the boomerang to the magical boomerang, so it throws faster and farther than the original. At this point in time, there are just 2 other items that we can throw in the pond and get a positive effect out of. The other main item is the fighter's shield. So if you select Link's shield and throw it in the pond, she'll ask you the same question: are we the ones that threw the shield in the pond? And she will reward us for our honesty by upgrading the fighter's shield to the red shield. So now it can deflect fireballs like the ones the Zoras spit out of their mouths at us. If you have an empty bottle, you can also throw the empty bottle in the pond, and she will fill it with the medicine of magic. But I don't believe we have an empty bottle at the moment, so I'll just show you what happens if you throw in an item that you can't upgrade. So let's throw in the bow and arrow. So we'll say, yeah, we threw it in, but there's nothing she can do to help, so she just gives it back and asks us not to do it again. There's no benefit for, there's no penalty, rather, for throwing in an item that she can't upgrade. So you can go ahead and experiment and try to find things that she may be able to help you with. So, we are finished with Zora's Domain, and there are a few other things that the Power Glove lets us reach in Hyrule, and there are new ways that we can make it around Hyrule. For example, if you jump off this ledge, you can bypass a lot of the areas here that give us trouble, and you can take shortcuts. So rather than going down and fighting with the people on the bridge, we can end up right here. Now you see this conspicuous bush here. If you were to cut this bush and hop down inside, you'll find yourself in another fairy fountain. And when you walk up to the fairy, she will heal your wounds. And when you exit the door will close behind you. So the only way to get there into that fairy pond is to fall down through the hole underneath that bush. Next up, if you remember, when we were escaping Hyrule Castle, we passed through the sewers, and we also passed through the tunnels underneath the sanctuary. And there were certain cracks in the wall that I said that you could bust through later in the game. Well, now we have the Pegasus shoes, and we have the Power Glove that will let us reach that area very quickly. So in this top left gravestone, if you pull the rocks out from in front and push, you'll expose a hole there that leads down into the tunnels underneath the sanctuary. So you can safely hop down in, and it takes us back to the same room that we were in before. You can see those circle cracks on the wall across from Link. Using the Pegasus shoes, you can charge up a dash and bust right through. So inside are 3 treasure chests. There are some supplies, such as bombs and arrows. But more importantly, in the center chest there is a lump sum of 300 rupees, which really alleviates some of the pain of our wallet after dropping 500 on the Zora's flippers. So we can exit the tunnels the same way we did before, head up the staircase, head through this first room, and whenever we make it to this room, there's no prompt telling us that we have to pull the right switch. So if you remember from before, the correct switch to pull is on the right. The left switch is a trap. So we'll just come out of the tunnels here underneath the sanctuary, and the old man and Zelda will stare at us. Choose not to say anything, we'll just walk on by. So there are a few things in Kakariko Village that I did not do when I was here before, and I am going to head in there now and check those out. Now that we have the Pegasus shoes, we are able to speak to the man with the red hat. So if you remember him before, when we got close, he ran away as fast as he could, and there was no way that Link could catch up to him. Well, now, if you walk up close to him, when he starts to run, you can catch him. So he makes a little quip about you kidnapping Zelda, but he seems to think that you're not that bad of a guy, so he tells you, why don't you go ahead and run into things in town, such as trees. You try it out, and sure enough, there's a blue ruby in this tree. So that's something you can do whenever you play the game, is just experiment crashing into trees to see what falls out. Now, we spoke to this woman, and she trusts us. She knows that we didn't kidnap the princess. If we head inside her house, we can thank her for her faith in us by blowing a hole in her wall. Because Link has nothing better to do than terrorize his friends and neighbors. Inside, we find a treasure chest with 10 arrows. So nothing life-changing, but it's something. So we will head north out of town. And there's a small pond just outside of town. Now, I've ran past this a few times, and the very first time I went up into the Lost Woods, I actually went past this pond. If you head south in this area, you can find a shop that sells some supplies. I misspoke. I believe it might have been in a different game. Different part of the game, perhaps. Anyway, continuing on, we can hop right into this pond, and since it's deep water, we can swim using the flippers, and we can use the Zora's Waterway. This takes us to the eastern edge of Lake Hylia. So you can't go up the waterfall, so you need to climb out using the steps right here. We now have the power glove that will allow us to lift this rock. And inside we find a rather upset-looking person, possibly a thief. They say that they earn their keep by defeating enemies, and it's the secret of their success. So, just another little room that you can explore, nothing too important there. So if you miss it, you're not missing anything. Next, I'm going to return to Lake Hylia. And I'm going to swim north. There's this island in the middle of Lake Hylia, but I'm just going to go ahead and pass that for now. If you were to hop out on that ladder there in the bottom right corner of the screen, it would take you to a passageway just south of the Eastern Palace. But I'm going to go ahead and continue swimming along in this river. And you can actually go underneath this bridge that we've crossed a few times. So underneath you find a man camping out. And he doesn't have anything to help us, or he doesn't, he's not well equipped to help us, but he can give us this bottle. So we found our third magic bottle. Next, I'm returning to the middle of Lake Hylia to check out this island that we couldn't reach before. Just south of the island, there is another one of Zora's Waterways. This actually takes us back to Zora's Waterfall, right beneath the Waterfall of Wishing. I didn't go through here before because I wanted to pick up those rupees from the tunnels underneath the sanctuary. And you'll see why. Whenever we hop up on this island, we can find inside and find a cave. And we run across the Pond of Happiness, and it asks us, do we want to throw some rupees in for our wishes to come true? Sure, why not? I'll toss in 20 rupees. So it says our total happiness is 20. And we have a little luck. The wall there is cracked, you can bust through, and there are a few fairies in this pond. Actually, we have an empty bottle now, so I'm going to take this bug-catching net and fill it with a fairy. A little extra health and insurance policy never hurt. So each time you walk up to this pond, it'll ask you, do you want to throw rupees in? And if you pay attention, you can see that it's counting the number of rupees you put in. Our happiness is now 40, because we put in 20 rupees twice. There's a little bit of a delay in the amount of time that it takes for you to be able to access that prompt and throw in rupees, but each time you walk up to it, you can continue to throw in rupees. So you kind of have to wait a little bit before it comes back. I find it's pretty much the fastest way to run down to the door, wait a moment, and then run straight back. So we're up to 80 rupees now. And it seems like maybe something special will happen at 100. Sure enough, Venus, the Queen of Fairies, appears and offers to let us carry more bombs and arrows. So in addition to letting us carry the bombs and arrows, she also replenishes our supply of bombs and arrows. So if you choose bombs, you can carry 5 more bombs than you could before. If you choose arrows, she'll let you carry 5 more arrows in your quiver than you did before. So you can continue doing this for every 100 rupees you put in. You can see that after the first time it lets you throw in 50 at a time, just so you don't have to... You only have to run it back and forth twice instead of 5 times. But the total number of bombs you can carry, if you do this enough times, you can carry 50 bombs on your person, and your quiver can hold 70 arrows. So if you count, we can end up getting 5 more upgrades. Personally, I don't really think you need a lot more than 30 bombs at this point in the game, so I'm going to go ahead and upgrade my bombs 3 more times and do my arrows 2 more times. Your fortune doesn't really matter, it's just kind of random, whether it says great luck or a little luck or big trouble, so no need to worry about that at all. You can run outside too. You can run outside, run back inside, but it's just faster to run down to the door and run back. So that's all we can do for now. There are a few more things that we can access at this point in time in Hyrule. Let's head back up near Link's house. You can see a piece of heart here on this island, but as you can see, there's no dock or ladder or steps, any way to get to that for now. So we'll just have to remember that's there and come back later. Here you can find a small shop, and this is just right beside Link's house. You can buy red potion, a heart, bombs. It's a little bit more expensive for the red potion here than the witch's hut, but if you really need it and have the extra money, it's up to you. There's also another fortune teller's hut here. Like I said before, the hints are pretty vague, but I suppose they could help you. Generally, I don't think it's worth the money. So here's Link's house, and just off to the west of Link's house, there's something else that we can access using the Pegasus shoes. It's pretty heavily guarded in this area, but if you sneak around, you can find another pile of rocks here. If you dash in and head down into the cave, you can find another fairy pond, which is very useful right outside of Link's house. So now we have a pretty good handle on most of what's available here in Hyrule's overworld. So I think we're ready now to attempt to scale Death Mountain and retrieve the Pendant of Wisdom. Notice how the magical boomerang throws a lot faster and farther than previously. This tree right here on the western side of the bridge is just a little bit unique in that if you charge up a Pegasus dash and run into it, it'll actually drop apples, and each apple you pick up functions like a heart. It's kind of rare in the game. You don't really see a lot of apples, but they do exist. So the entrance to Death Mountain is just west of the sanctuary, and north. So you'll find a sign here saying that the king has prohibited anyone from entering Death Mountain. But we can, now that we have the Power Glove, we can lift the stone and find our own way in. This little monster doesn't really hurt you. He just drops rupees. The faster you pick up the rupees, the faster he drops new ones. So you can usually get between 4 and 6 rupees. So inside we have our lantern, and we are walking in the dark. Here we find an old man lost in the cave, and he asks us to escort him to his home on the mountain. So there he gives his advice to avoid searching for the golden power. And it turns out that he is the grandfather of one of the maidens who was taken by Ganem. So it's very possible he is also a descendant of one of the 7 wise men who sealed the Golden Land. So these little monsters here, I can't remember their names for sure. I believe they're called dead rocks. Whenever you strike them with your sword, they turn to stone and are impervious to damage. So there is no way to take them out. Once we reach this room right here, he thanks you for taking him to his house and gives you the magic mirror. So he tells us to complete our quest, we will need to find the Moon Pearl in the tower on the top of the mountain. So if you are missing hearts, he will heal you up. You can head back outside and start climbing the mountain, or you can take the passageway through his cave here. Either way, it will take you up the mountain. There's nothing really to find in his cave. There are a few keys and a few pots that you can break, but either way, this way you are safe from falling rocks, but you still have other enemies to contend with. So we're a little bit further up the mountain. The old man's cave is just directly south of, or just directly down the mountain from where we are. You can see it right down here. So avoid the rocks as best as you can. If you check this sign, it tells you that the cave in front of us leads back down to Kakariko Village. So that's the easiest way to get back down. Here you'll find a few caves that you can enter. The only one that you really need to enter at this time is this one that you can barely see down at the bottom. You want to jump off the ledge just left of this wall, and you'll land on a small platform. If you head inside, you can see that we fell just a little bit further than this level up here, but it's good because it takes us to the other side of a chasm that we couldn't otherwise reach. And we find piece of heart number 10. So Sahasrahla telepathically tells us we need to get on top of Spectacle Rock if we want to reach the Tower of Hera. The only way out is to fall right back down this hole. I suppose you could backtrack and jump off the ledge where we fell in the first time, but it's a little bit counterproductive. It's a lot faster just to go ahead and hop out. So this takes us out to the other ledge. There's where we fell down to the right of the screen, and we can hop back down. Still need to avoid the rocks for a minute. Seems like the threshold for the rocks is the ladder here. Once you start climbing the ladder, you're pretty much safe. So Spectacle Rock is the name of this rock formation with the cave. If we enter this cave, you can see that we're on the other side of that chasm where we fell before. But we need to find a way on top of there. So if we head a little bit to the east, we find this blue portal. It's very similar to the yellow-orange ones that we've seen in the Eastern Palace, but it takes us somewhere entirely different. We find ourselves in what appears to be a dark mirror world of Hyrule, and not only is the scenery changed, Link has changed as well. He went from being a young boy to a pink bunny. And it seems like there are others here as well. He mentions that if he had the Moon Pearl from the Tower of Hera, he could resume his original form. So these must be some of the men who came on Death Mountain searching for the Golden Power. One of the powers from the magic mirror that the old man gave us seems to be the ability to look into another world. If we equip the magic mirror and stand on this curiously marked area of land, we can use the magic mirror and create a teleport to the light world. and sure enough, we can find piece of heart number 11. Now you can see this sparkling area that appears in the light world. If we were to step on it again, it would take us right back where we were in the dark world, but you see that portal isn't there. It only works from the dark world to the light world, but it leaves a mark so you can go exactly back where you were in the dark world. It also shows up on your map, so you can see where you came in from the dark world if you have that desire. So hop off the ledge, and we find ourselves at the base of the Tower of Hera. There's also a rope bridge leading over to a small mountaintop over here, and we find a tablet written in the ancient Hylian language. So using the Book of Medora, we can translate it, and it reads, "Hold up the Master Sword, and you will get the magic of Ether." So, we don't have the Master Sword yet, so we'll have to return. So here we are, folks. Thanks for watching episode 4 of my playthrough of The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I hope you'll tune in next time as we conquer the Tower of Hera and retrieve the Pendant of Wisdom. So, thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time.